I will call the August 5th, 2024 regular Bucyrus City Council to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and read.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Sean?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Words?
Here.
Sherry is absent. Baker?
Here. You have minutes from July 23rd, 2024 regular council meeting in front of you. Does anybody have any questions?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Myers made a motion, Mr. Moore seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Granted permission for visitors to speak. Is there any visitors who would like to address council? Please come to the podium. Public speaking, if anybody would like to come to the podium, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Wanda Sharrock, and I'm a little hard of hearing, so that's why I was asking Kurt to speak up a little bit. I live at 1485 Oak Ridge Drive, Bucyrus, Ohio. And I came tonight because I understand that Ms. Shireman has sent a letter to all citizens and city council stating that it has been brought to her attention that there is a petition on Facebook that has been referenced as belonging to her. This is not her post, nor is it her petition. This petition seems to be on Wanda Sharrock's Facebook. Well, yes, it was. My brother called me, and I know you all know Larry. Larry and I don't agree on anything, but we do agree on a few things. And he called and said Ms. Shireman called him and asked him to sign the petition, at which time he refused because he believes that the festival is good for Bucyrus. And then another gentleman up on Plymouth Street said that Ms. Shireman came to his house with the petition stating that we should not have a festival if we could not support our swimming pool. So at that time, I wrote to Facebook to ask people in the community their opinion because I think that the community needs to speak up, especially like I work the festival every year for the Colonel Crawford Band Boosters. We make a lot of money. The county commissioners give us that lot, and we raise a lot of money for the kids so that they can have new uniforms. I used to work with the Bucyrus Band when my kids were in the band, and we made an awful lot of money. That's how they got the big thing that they carry the equipment in. So I'm saying that I have the knowledge that there was a petition, and I thought our community should know that if you like the festival, speak up. If you don't, that's fine. Speak up too. I don't care. But I wanted everyone to know that it was going around. So at this point, I just want to make sure that you know that I never said the petition was on Facebook, and I never named the city council person. Now I have tonight. Thank you. And also, while I'm up here, I love Bucyrus. I moved to Bucyrus when I was a child, and General Electric brought my dad here, and it was a wonderful company. And when my dad passed away, GE was our family. They came, they supported my mom and us kids, and they made sure that we knew that GE would always be there for us. Well, GE isn't here anymore, and I think that people sitting at this table tonight need to understand that we've got to stop making negative comments to each other and stop becoming laughed at by the community. You're here as leaders. Leaders should be leaders. They need to be out there working with the administration, making this city a better city. And that's your job. Your job is to promote this city. Your job is to do good things for Bucyrus, Ohio, so that families like mine will come to Bucyrus and be glad that we grew up here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public participation?
Clarissa Slater, 3645 State Route 4. I was coming up here to say my piece about Ms. Sharrock, but I don't need, my services are not needed in that respect. I I just want to say that I have been an active participant morally, not by choice. I have informed you all that I have watched for years from home. And I am very disappointed in the way that things have unfurled in Bucyrus. I am most concerned about liability. And no one seems to care that that's what my motivation is. Everyone's trying to find some ulterior motive to why I am here other than wanting and caring about this community. And it's to the point where rumors are being spread by city email about me and my family, and then when I ask for that information, those requests aren't being filled. It is childish, it is silly. If anyone knows any better, and I'm not calling Ms. DeShawn out because she has been nothing but gracious and kind in this process, but she can tell any of you that you guys have already been through this song and dance. She has already done this to the city. The precedent is out there. Please don't make us any more liable than what we already are. And when it comes to the internet, it was released to me, this documentation from the City Council President, and I am not going to go into detail about that other than I am worried about the liability of having an executive session with Mr. Fankhauser present. And the reason I am worried about that liability is he has not been cleared twice by the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission sets guidelines on what he can and cannot do. In this report, it says what he can and cannot do. And I am very emotionally charged now because it's just funny when you bring your concerns, you expect to be listened to and not attacked personally, and your family not to be attacked personally, and your motives to be questioned. Going into executive session, I worry, puts you all culpable, and the reason why is because it states in the report from the Ratliff opinion that Mr. Fankhauser will be prohibited from disclosing or using without appropriate authorization any confidential information he acquires in the course of his official duties to President of Council. He's worried about me knowing what your guys' topic was today, but he released this without authorization. This came straight from him. This is the meeting notes from COSI, and in it states some really concerning things. And Mr. Fankhauser is correct. I do not have an IT degree. However, what I do is I have a background in criminology. I have taken an individual class on IT security that does not make me a specialist, but I have friends who were inspired by the same class that we took together and became a master's and spent the last 12 years working in IT security. And IT security is completely different than being an internet service provider. Everybody has a specialty, okay? And what my concern is that there is no centralized user or digital identity management structure, and it states that the lack of a central user or digital identity management makes understanding who has access to resources difficult. It also says that the internet service provider, who has been identified as Wavelength and Kurt Fankhauser, provided hardware and is managing their network devices and connections. Do we have currently a liability insurance for IT and any data breaches that may occur? Do we? Do we know what our policy limit is? Do you guys know what is going on in the city of Columbus? Do you? Do you know that their information is being auctioned off on the dark web as we speak? Is no one taking this seriously? Why, you guys question me as one singular woman with access to the internet, finding this information, but why has it been left to me? Why has no one else been asking these questions? And why do we still not, okay, you decided not to go with COSI, that's fine, but why do we still not have an IT service provider doing this? And why, I'm guessing these are Kurt's specific notes, was Kurt the only one from council in that meeting? The one that states in the opinion should not even be associated with it, that it should be conducted at arm's length.
Mrs. Slater, your 5 minutes is up.
Okay, and I would like to note on that then that it is inappropriate for you to be making those decisions when it is a conflict of interest. However, I will relinquish the podium. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a couple comments. One, the information was released to you, the COSI report, to be transparent, and if I can say, it was released to you very quickly. Was it not? Yes, it was. I believe I had Miranda send it the same day in an effort to be transparent, and I seen that it immediately made its way onto Facebook. It was very quickly put onto Facebook. The city has contracted with an IT company, which I'm sure you're not even aware of, but the city has contracted with an IT company. It's not me. It's actually somebody Mr. Myers used to go to church with. His name is Joe Tate. Are you familiar with him, Mr. Myers? Would you agree that he's very knowledgeable in that field? He is. Well, you like to throw a lot of stuff out there, and I feel like it's very misinformation-ish, kind of. So you seem to want to create public panic, and I'm trying to reduce the panic. So, other thing, there's been 20 years of neglect in this building as far as the IT stuff. There's been like 3 or 4 different mayors that didn't know what they were doing, and we're lucky something hasn't happened. Come January, we get a new mayor in, and we're assessing the situation in the building. This is before you came along, by the way, and we did find some problems. Those problems have been addressed or are in the process of being addressed. Okay? And I don't know why it seems like anything that I have to do with, it's automatically assumed that there is malicious intent involved. I don't know where that's coming from. I'd really like to know, because what I think is going on here is you are being fed misinformation by other people, some of which may even be up here. Some may be sitting over there. I don't know, because I don't know what you've been told, but I'd really like to get it cleared up as to why everything that Kurt does equals bad. Where is that coming from? Could I save 100 puppies from the Sandusky River from drowning, and you would be up here too saying Kurt must have thrown the puppies in the river? I mean, where is this all coming from? All this is doing is wasting time from what really needs to be going on, which is getting jobs into Bucyrus, getting more housing into Bucyrus. Wanda's shaking her head yes over there. She knows. Those are the 2 key issues, and we have Mr. David Zach here tonight, which is hopefully going to help us get the jobs. So, you know, if you want to tell me, send me an email, Clarissa, where this is coming from, that everything that Kurt does is for some malicious purpose. It's not that I'm here to help the city, which is why I ran for office. It's Kurt must have ran for office for some personal financial gain or something. I don't understand where that's coming from. So, is there any other public participation?
Yeah, I got a quick one, just a quick one. Dan Wirebaugh, 1092 Martha Avenue. I just listening to Miss Mrs. Slater, I'm sorry. And I got the impression that information from an executive session was shared to the public. Is that true? If it is, I'd like you to look into that.
Right. That was not, that was a record from the outside consultants who came in, evaluated our needs, and then gave us recommendations.
Executive session and then this
Yeah.
information was shared. So.
Yep.
Any other public participation? Okay, none. We are going to move on, communications and petitions, and I will give it to Mr. David Zack from the Crawford Partnership.
Okay, Sarah and I are both going to present tonight. It's always good to be here with Bucyrus City Council in this great community. And I agree 100% with the idea that jobs and housing and helping this community to thrive is one of the most important things. And we are very privileged to be able to work on that work along with the administration and many, many others to make that happen. So today is our quarterly report. I appreciate the clerk. Shout out to Miranda for helping with the scheduling, given everything that was going on. So Sarah and I are happy to be here tonight. Also going to start bringing some of our staff people also to contribute and be a part of presenting what we're doing so you can get to know them better. So with that, we'll head into our quarterly update. You have a detailed copy of the quarterly report. And okay, I'm going to... I got you. Oh, you got, okay. Thank you. Mike, go. Okay. Thank you. I was wondering, what's wrong with this technology? Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we're going to cover, I said in our first quarterly report that we didn't have the jobs and investment numbers yet, and we're going to start reporting on them this quarter. We are. And then we're going to talk about some of our major focus goals for the year and where we're at with some of our key strategies, what press releases came out in the first quarter, and what does our project pipeline look like. So with that, next slide, please. Thank you, Sarah. Oh, if you could back up. Sorry. That's Governor DeWine signing the state capital budget, which did go into effect, and there was a lot of great funding, $1.6 million for the community historic high, and much of that money coming into the city of Bucyrus. So whether it was for Norton Bicentennial Park or $1 million for $432,000 for All Miller Bike Trail, or it was money going into the Maple Crest Community Center, which is also in the city of Bucyrus. It was a very good, historically high also for the city of Bucyrus, so we're really pleased with that. So he's smiling, I'm smiling as we get some state funding. Okay, so these are some of the critical measurements. So through the end of the second quarter, $24 million, so that's the end of June, in new investment announced, 63 new jobs, 1.3 million potential local tax revenue over the next 10 years from the projects that were announced through the first half of the year. So that's income tax, that's real property tax, that's sales tax. And then in March, again, we just keep it up there because we only get it once a year, top rating and where we're at with so that and the satisfaction rankings, those are new every fall. So those aren't new for this one, but the jobs, the investment, and the local tax revenue, that's where we're at through the first half of the year. Sorry, Sarah, don't we? Okay, focus goals, workforce development, and community development. So when I was here at the end of the first quarter, I talked about workforce development. I talked about how we were going to define how we are actually going to try to move the needle on helping companies get all the talent they need and keep all that talent they need. And there were 4 different types of projects that we were going to focus on. One was upskilling their existing workers with training. One was helping companies market and fill open positions. Another one was filling the talent pipeline, so companies that want to build their talent pipeline, connect with the youth, connect with local students as well as other sources. And then last but not least, supporting the talent needs of the kinds of projects Sarah works on as economic development manager. And we had through the end of at that point of the end of the second quarter, we had made 58 business outreach calls to existing businesses to see what their needs were. And we came out of that with 31 active workforce development projects of those 4 different types. So we kept Lisa and Markham very busy. Teacher Manufacturing Boot Camp took place in the middle and end of June. That's where teachers, including those from Bucyrus City, well, not actually, Bucyrus was the one that wasn't part of it, but Colonel Crawford was, as well as others, but 5 out of the 6 districts involved with developing curriculum on integrating integrating what's going on in our local manufacturers in. So that's approved by Ashland University in terms of that curriculum. And again, this is the second time it's happened. This is going to be an ongoing thing, and there's going to be continual opportunities to do that. So next is the youth science transition. We have some companies that are in the new youth science platform. That's going to launch this fall in the schools. That's where kids are going to take aptitude tests, not just their interest. Everybody, when I was growing up, everybody wanted to go to the MBA. Now it's I want to be a social media influencer or a video game designer. So what are they good at, and what are the needs of the local community, and what can they make doing it? So our companies are getting in that system, and there's going to be more coming. Business Advisory Council, Lisa Markham on our team just took over facilitating that for this year. That's all of the school districts. So all 6 school districts meet. They met today, this morning, and meet once a month to see how they can work together. And community development, talked about the state capital budget. We also secured the $1.5 million EPA Brownfield grant. That money I just submitted, we had won that award through the pre-application, just finished getting an approved work plan, submitted the full application, but that money set aside for us. And so starting to work on the work in that 4-year plan for that money, and have to be able to assess brownfields and know how to clean them up. That should be beginning this fall. And fair housing analysis, we have awarded the analysis of impediments in the third quarter, but we put out an RFP for someone to analyze every 5 years. We have to look at what are the impediments to fair housing, and so we're doing that. And so that work will begin here in the third quarter. And then we've been actively working on hiring a full-time staff person. In the second quarter, we got 37 people submitting their resumes, and then the team interviewed 9 potential candidates, narrowed it down to 4, and we're working on finalizing that candidate who's going to be coming into that role as community development director manager. So a lot of progress in both of our big kind of focus goals, really defining workforce development and building community development. Sarah, if you go to the next one. Okay, so our primary strategies. Bread and butter is working with existing companies. I remember having discussions with Jim and others on how important this is. So we are back. I said we were number 2 micropolitan at the end of the first quarter. We're back to being number 1, and we're number 2 overall. And based on the way the numbers are and the hustle that we've been getting on the ground, working to reach out to local companies, that we should be number 1 overall in Northwest Ohio, ahead of Lucas or right up there. So we know that if we talk to local companies, and that's not always easy. Sometimes with companies we know, they invite us in. For companies, sometimes just get in, who are you? Why are you there? So to have those kinds of discussions, we continue to work on building those relationships, showing value, building credibility. So kudos to Sarah, who also was in the state course for new economic development professionals. She was a panelist on how to do business retention expansion, how to reach out to local businesses. Jobs Ohio called her up and said, hey, can you speak to all these folks coming into the profession on how to do it right? So kudos to Sarah on that. But I'm sorry, I'm starting to take away her thunder. I forgot we're tag teaming. She goes, what are you doing? She's supposed to talk about these first 3. I've already covered workforce development. I've already covered community development. And then entrepreneurship, we're planning for an event in September that we'll have here in the county. So sorry, Sarah, give me some kudos. I'm going to hand over the talk to Sarah, go through the next couple of slides, and I'll share you on that.
You gotta go stand by the computer.
I do. I can follow directions.
All right, thank you all very much. It's a privilege and exciting to be here with you, with David, to share a little bit about economic development and leadership development. So as David has already shared a little bit, business retention and expansion, at the end of quarter 2, we were number 2 among the non-metro counties out of Northwest Ohio. So there are 17 counties that make up our region. 14 of those are non-metro. We were number 1. And then out of all 17 counties, we ranked number 2. So we are really making an effort to get out there with our businesses and hear what their needs are. Our goal is to get in front of projects. If we come in, we have to be there at the front to help them. So that's our main goal, is to get out there with them and see what we can bring to the table to support their growth and retention and expansion. Real estate. So to date, at the end of quarter 2, I had reviewed 38 RFIs. So those generally come through Jobs Ohio down to the Regional Growth Partnership and then down to the county level. So what I do is I go in and evaluate, do we have enough water, sewer? Can the electricity happen at that site? fiber and things like that, as well as do we have enough acres for what that company needs. So most of those leads do come through Jobs Ohio, but we have a network of folks, so if they send me something and one of our sites or buildings fits, I make sure to get that information to them. Also really exciting, we had our large site visit in the middle of July, so while that's quarter 3, we did start planning that and working on that in quarters 1 and 2. So that was exciting. We submitted 5 sites around Crawford County to be reviewed. So Jobs Ohio hired a third-party consultant to evaluate all of these sites. And the Bucyrus Airport site made it to round 2 in that program. I completed the RFI. I worked with both this administration as well as the previous administration on that work. And then we found out in December 2023 that we would no longer be considered under that particular part of the program, but we were visited under the large site initiative. So we got a lot of feedback, how to evaluate sites, how to determine their validity in making them an industrial site, how to evaluate utilities, and they kind of gave us some guidelines on what to use there. So very beneficial, great opportunity for our county and our community here in Bucyrus. And then finally on this slide, I will touch on marketing. So I'm sure you guys have heard David say before, 1,000 stories in 10 years. So our goal then is 100 stories each year. Very excited to report that we did 16 press releases this year. And when we say did, that could mean we wrote them or we shared them. And it's generated 105 stories so far. So we're halfway through this year and we've already hit that goal. So I'm very excited to see where the year ends. And now it's kind of like a game, like how far can I've hit that goal, now let's see how far we can go. So very exciting there. We do have 4 social media platforms, and we have done, at the end of quarter 2, 98 posts across 4 platforms, comes out to 321 posts, generating 68,000 impressions, and that's the number of times it displays on someone's screen. So we're definitely getting our reach there, as well as having a great partnership with our local media.
Are those unique impressions?
They are.
Okay.
So, and with that, we will go to the next slide. So I'm going to kind of go backwards here just a minute because the way our PowerPoint, our presentation works. So a lot of you I've had the opportunity to work with. Some of you I'm meeting tonight for the first time. Next week will be my 5-year anniversary with the Crawford Partnership. I came in as a project and marketing coordinator and then moved into economic development and now serve as the economic development manager. I have a bachelor in business administration. And my background includes various nonprofits, some legal work, as well as some time at Ohio Mutual Insurance here in Bucyrus. So a little bit about me there. I got exposed to all of this through CU Lead. And so I was in the program in 2016 and 17, got to see all the amazing things that were happening here in our county, and I was like, this is cool, I want to be a part of it. So I stayed engaged with my cohort and tried to serve on some bike path committees and different things, and then when an opportunity at the partnership came up, I went for it, and that's where I am today. So my 3 hats at the partnership are economic development, social media and marketing and communications, as well as leadership development. So I'm going to share just a touch more on economic development. We have kind of 4 buckets. We have properties, which I talked about with RFIs when people are looking for it. It could be even a small business owner looking for a downtown space. I just simply connect them, facilitate the conversation, and then they can work out all the agreements. We also have industrial sites and buildings. My database now is well over 100 that I monitor and try to see what's available around the county. We also have our programs, so that could be things like the our Jobs Ohio Small Business Grant. We launched Recover Crawford when the tornado came through Bucyrus in April, so that's a program that we had available to help with the community, the folks that were hit. We do press releases and promotion of our businesses. We want to create that positive image and reputation both internally and externally, and I can tell you that it is working, that our stories are reaching the state of Ohio, so that's really exciting to see that happening. And then problem solving. So someone might come and say, hey, I'm trying to get this sprinkler system installed in our building and we're having trouble. Can you help us figure out what we're missing? And so we have enough of a network that we can call up and say, hey, oh, okay, they needed a copy of this, and kind of help get that, shake it loose and keep it moving. So within social media, I've already kind of talked about that. I won't drag it out anymore. We have our 4 platforms, press releases, and some different video editing that we do when we share programs. And then leadership development. So I facilitated the last 2 years. I helped 3 years prior to that. And we launched a CU Lead Oversight Committee. So when ideas are brought to me or something, unique, I can go to that committee and ask for their insight. It's, they weigh in. It's folks who have been in the program, HR professionals, partner organizations. And this year, I'm happy to report that we have our biggest cohort yet at 24 participants. So that's very exciting. And within Bucyrus, we've visited places like the Copper Kettle as part of our tourism history. This week, we are going to Advanced Fiber Technology, IB Tech, Ohio Mutual Insurance Group. So we are making sure to see all of the county, including some spots here in Bucyrus. We're getting lunch from Cooper's Mill this week. So very exciting to continue that. We're about halfway through the program. In December, we'll have our CU Impact event again for the second time. That serves as the graduation, the impact the program had on them, as well as we bring in 20, our goal is always 20, but we'll take more, 20 nonprofits, boards, organizations who are looking for volunteers, board members, a variety of different things, and hopefully connecting these local leaders who completed the program to a service opportunity that works for their lifestyle at that time. So very excited to continue that this year, and the group is planning that again this year. So we've divided into committees, and the current group is planning that event with a little bit of support and guidance. So we'll move on from that. And like I said, we've already talked a little bit about press releases. There are a couple specific to Bucyrus that I wanted to point out from Q2. Very exciting. Advanced Fiber Technology announced a $5.5 million expansion. They created a plant 2 across the street from their original plant. They retained their 33 jobs they had and will create 6 over the next 3 years. So very exciting to support that project and see it come to life. And then also First Federal Community Bank, their East Branch out across from Walmart, invested in renovations and branding and some things, and retained their employees as well there. So always very exciting to see our businesses reinvesting here in Bucyrus and maintaining those jobs. And with that, I will ask if there's any questions that I can answer or anything you guys are curious about.
Are you gonna go to the next page?
David will.
Okay. Do you see anything, well, does any council members have any questions? Do you see anything that we as city council can do to spur economic growth as far as passing maybe zoning changes or anything like that? Because I've been told by the guy we met with the OML that he said housing, you need to prepare for a housing boom after this Intel thing pushes up our way in the upcoming years.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that kind of in 2 parts. Definitely there will be times that I'll be working with council for like a community reinvestment area like we did for Bucyrus Storage Complex. So that's where you'll likely see me, and I probably have some of those coming down the pike that I'm working to define that project. There might be some other tax incentives, a TIF, a tax increment financing that we might be looking at to support some housing and some different projects. And that is where David and I right now, the new person eventually, we kind of overlap between economic development and community development. So I know that what you're referring to, like getting housing and things like that, that kind of falls more into community development. But when it comes to some of the incentives to support that, that's where you're going to see me with economic development.
Oh, Mr. Me has a question.
Could you touch a little bit more based on youth science? What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll let David also.
You want David to do it.
And I'll start, he can finish.
All right.
We're getting pretty good at this, sharing our answers. So youth science is a workforce tool that helps students find what they're interested in with what their skill set is and then matching them to careers. So our businesses will be on that platform as well, so that once they realize maybe they have, I'm going to totally make this example up, I'm really good at math. Oh look, there are all of these companies and my skill sets could match to a variety of things, even if I, in manufacturing, at Ohio Mutual, at a bank, try to match them up and things like that. I'm not in my wheelhouse, so I'll let David share a little bit more. But the goal is to take these assessments and help those students align their interest and their natural skills. So, any other economic questions? All right.
So as far as zoning, I think it's a good idea for any municipality that wants to be proactive in housing with a particular kind of housing that it wants to have outside experts put together a request for proposal for those services if it's something that council decides is a priority at a particular time. I don't know how old the zoning code is for the city of Bucyrus, but if it's been a while, it's probably good to do a zoning update with a particular eye towards making sure that it's zoning that's going to attract the kind of housing you would like to see. That would be my overall comment. As far as youth science, yeah, it's community opportunity was launched in 2017, and companies were able to post their career opportunities. Students were able to see it. What makes youth science different is kind of community opportunity. A small nation is kind of getting out of that business, and they haven't updated it, and it's kind of in a different place. They have like 140 employees. It's national, and what they did is they brought really these aptitude tests, these ability tests that community opportunity didn't have, which really, so all the school districts, which are getting support through career coaches and Pioneer, which is paying for all that support, and for youth science to be used, so it's at no cost to any of the schools. Basically, they're going to have 3 sessions, at least the way it's done in some other schools, for the kids over a half hour to take these tests, these assessments, and then they're kind of given this report on what they're great at and how that matches, and they can sort the career opportunities by how much advanced education it needs, whether it's none, whether it's a certificate, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, and then they can see what those careers make, and then they can also go in and they'll say, day in the life, what's it like doing this job and how does it match up? So it's much more sophisticated, and then on the back end for the schools, there's a lot of tools that are going to allow them to better serve the students with work-based learning. And so the idea is that as the work-based learning activities increase, for example, whether it's wage tours, being able to see companies, or it's speakers from companies going into the classroom, or it's internships, or whatever it is, that teachers and guidance counselors, as well as students, are going to be able to see where those opportunities are as well.
I'm going to bounce around here a little bit.
Sure.
As far as plating, what would you like to see us do? Would you like some zoning changes, or?
So I'll answer that. I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to try. So
I want some
tell me
guidance.
where I would go wrong and not give me
Since I'm the chair of plating, I want some guidance on what I can do to stay ahead of the ball.
Okay. So, I'm not a zoning expert, so when it comes to overall zoning, I would recommend getting an expert to position that. Generally, with industrial development, I can tell you if you have a larger piece of land, it's good not to plat it out. Sometimes also if you're doing a mixed-use development, because you may have a developer that wants to come in and structure it a certain way, and if it's platted a certain way, it makes it more challenging, so it gives more flexibility. So sometimes I recommend planning without platting a particular piece of property. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm doing my best.
I just didn't know if there was something else I could do, be proactive.
Okay.
To get
Well,
business in.
I would say let's sit down and talk about it and flesh it out a little bit more.
That'll work.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Happy to do it.
I would also put with that too, not just housing, but for industrial and other jobs down the road, zoning for that too,
Okay.
not just the housing.
Gotcha. Thank you, Chris.
Any other questions?
Ready to go to your slide?
Yep, we got one more to go. Just project pipeline, so this number is bigger than it was at the end of the first quarter, because a lot of those workforce, you remember those workforce projects are in the system now. You can see the pink right there, that's the city of Bucyrus, you can see it in your packet. That's the largest number of projects are located in the corporate limits of the city of Bucyrus. That's just because that's where the majority of the activity is. But it's diverse, it's throughout the entire county. Manufacturing still the leading sector in terms of what kind of projects we see. And 60% of our projects are economic development projects, which is a smaller percentage. That's because workforce development projects are up. I think that's it, and I think I have our contact information at the end. That's what we got for you tonight. Any other questions on the last part, or anything else for Sarah and me before we get out of your hair with our gratitude and thanks?
Thanks for coming.
Okay, always good to be here. And we'll get some, thank you. Take care.
Okay, moving on, we have another letter, we have a letter dated 7/31/2024 from a Carolyn Shireman. I will let the council clerk read the letter.
This is submitted from Carolyn Shireman, residing at 1065 East Beale Avenue, apartment 54 in Bucyrus, Ohio. To all citizens and council members, it has come to my attention that there is a petition on Facebook that has been referenced as belonging to me. This is not my post, nor is it my petition. This petition was seen on Wanda Sharrock's Facebook page. My Facebook has been deactivated since July 24th, 2024. It would be very safe to say that this is another attempt to discredit myself. To my knowledge, I have never posted a petition on Facebook. I urge citizens to take notice that this is not my petition.
Need a motion to accept and file.
Make a motion.
I second.
Mr. Moritz made the motion, Mrs. Shireman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, we're gonna need a roll call vote.
Myers?
No.
Deshawn?
Yes.
Shireman?
Yes.
Moritz?
Yes.
Hickman?
No.
Me.
Yes.
We have 2 no votes. 4 yes votes, so the motion passes. It will be accepted and filed. Standing committee reports, plating committee, Mr. May.
No report at this time.
Any questions for plating? I will say that, so we had a meeting with the OML guy this last week. Administration and I sat in. They're asking about legislative needs, and the zoning thing came up. And the guy from the OML said that there is possibly some grant money coming that will, municipalities and like the counties can get like a professional company to come in and look at all of your zoning laws and make recommendations on changes. And I thought that was something that we need to keep an eye on, because I think the zoning could be improved.
So do I, but did they give you
So he didn't give me anything because he said it's being talked about at the state level, like about having this money put into a grant, but it's not out there yet. Like, it's like, must be in discussions at the State House.
If we could get it planned with a company, then when the money hit.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely keep you in the loop on that, and if that was to happen, I'm sure you'll be in that meeting if we discuss it. Public Lands and Buildings Chair is not here, so Mr. Hickman.
No report at this time.
Any questions for Public Lands and Buildings? Seeing none, Health and Safety, Mrs. DeShawn.
The Health and Safety Committee meeting held on July 25th, 24. Discussion was held on the TNR Trap Neuter Return Program, restrictions on registered felonious sex offenders, and marijuana dispensaries. End of my report.
Any questions for Mrs. DeShawn? Seeing none, Finance Committee, Mr. Myers.
No report.
Any questions for Finance Committee Chair? Seeing none, Economic Development Chair, Mr. Hickman.
Have no report at this time.
Any questions for Economic Development? Seeing none, Service Committee, Mr. Moritz.
I believe we're really close to being where we need to be. Okay.
Yeah, we
That's
should
where
have
we're
all-
going at.
I think you should have all of the drafts by tomorrow.
Cool.
I think you're only waiting on one, right?
Okay.
I think.
Any questions for Service Committee?
That's Title IX.
Title IX, yes.
Yeah.
Special Ad Hoc Committee, Mrs. DeShawn.
The Special Ad Hoc Committee for Rules of Procedure for Bucyrus City Council, Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 111 Council, Rules of Council, and Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 113 Ordinances and Resolutions is scheduled to meet on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. in council chambers.
Any questions for the ad hoc committee? Special ad hoc committee, Mr. Me.
No report.
Any questions for Mr. Me? Traffic commission, Mayor Truca.
No report. No report.
Any questions for traffic commission? I have a question. The new traffic lights on the Walnut Street, East Mansfield Street, and I think the ones on East Mansfield Street and Lane Street are tied into that cabinet. Is there no battery backup in that cabinet?
Apparently there's not.
So when we lost power Thursday night, the lights went out.
Yep, that's a fact.
That's crazy that we spent that much money on them lights and there's no battery in them. Because the ones on the square got battery in them. That's crazy. Any other questions for traffic commission?
Yes, I've got one to tie into that. Is that something that we can look at changing, or is it cost prohibitive?
I don't know.
We'll have
to look into it and find out how much it costs.
That's not something I know off the top of my head, but I did hear about the lights going out already.
We actually lost electricity at the fire station.
Yeah.
Well, there's a generator at the fire station. Could we tie the lights into that and not even have them on our own meter?
Possible.
Okay, we'll let you guys look into that. Need a motion to accept the committee reports.
Second.
Was that Mr. Hickman?
Yeah.
Mr. Hickman made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Report of city officers, Mayor Truca.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. The administration would like to apply for OPWC grant for the year 2025. The grant application would authorize the Service Safety Director to apply for $185,000 in OPWC funds for the year 2025. The $185,000 OPWC grant would be used for water line replacement on South Sandusky Avenue. The receiving of the 2025 OPWC grant monies would allow sufficient time for the engineering to be completed and the installation of water lines prior to the reconstruction of Sandusky Avenue by the state of Ohio in 2026. The administration would like to refer the 2025 OPWC grant to the Service and the Finance Committees for their consideration. The zoning office and the administration has received inquiries about food trucks. Currently in the zoning code, there are no rules or regulations for food trucks. The administration would like to refer food trucks to the Health and Safety and Planning Committees to consider establishing rules and regulations. The administration has reached out to Norfolk Southern Railroad Company regarding the fallen concrete under the bridge located on East Mansfield Street. The bridge inspector has surveyed the bridge and has reported back to the administration on the condition of the bridge and the amount of time expected for the bridge repair. The administration would like to make the public aware of the future traffic disruptions as workers begin work on the bridge starting Tuesday, August 6, 2024 through Friday, August 9, 2024. Citizens can expect these disruptions between the hours of approximately 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be detour signs placed at directing incoming traffic westbound at Whetstone Street and eastbound at Walnut Street. The City of Bucyrus will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates when available. In the meantime, we encourage all citizens to remain proactive and plan ahead in their daily commutes. Thank you.
Any questions from the mayor? Mr. Myers?
I'm going to make a motion to refer the 2025 OPWC grant to Service and Finance, as well as food trucks, to Health and Safety and Plating.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Meese seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Was there anything else that OML guy said that was piqued your interest, Mr. Mayor?
No, he just stated, he was talking about the funding isn't there, but like you said, they're talking about making grants available, but they haven't got the details ironed out yet when it comes to the housing and zoning issues, and so.
The thing that stood out to me that he said was he said there was a push at the state legislature to change the income tax laws. And if that was to happen, we would no longer be able to get out-of-town workers' income tax money. But he also said that that's been talked about for like 20 years down at the state level. But, you know, it just kind of, to me, it reiterated our importance of this safety levy this fall with the property tax. If we didn't do that and we started to rely on the out-of-town workers because we got, you know, in a bad situation, and then the state was to pull that out from under us, we'd be in a really bad situation. So it's just one more reason that the levy this fall is very important.
Mr. President, might I
Mr.
add a
Myers?
sentence to what you just said? You know, one of the things that a lot of us that have been around here for a couple of years, we've noticed, the city has always done a really good job of, you know, placing money aside to buy garbage trucks. And that's the only thing in our fleets we've ever really been really good at doing that for. And I think that's one of the things this levy is going to allow us to plan accordingly for the future for our public safety vehicles, so we never end up in a situation like we were in several years ago when we were driving around police cars with holes in the floor and piecing together pieces from fire trucks to make them maybe work. And I just wanted to throw it out there that, you know, that's us trying to be proactive with our community spending and make sure that we have that money set aside for those purposes.
Yeah, the levy is specifically for equipment only, so it can't go to wages and salaries.
Or benefits, right?
You know, if that levy was to pass, it would only be spent on apparatus and equipment. So, you know, a fire truck's gonna show up and be up to date, a police car's gonna show up, be up to date, you know.
It can also be used for building maintenance, like the back door is original to the.
Yeah,
to the city
it can
hall.
be used for maintenance on the police station and the fire station. Where was I going with this? Yeah, it's to be spent on things that basically are going to be there come the next year. It's not going to go to like a wage and salary that gets paid out that year and then it's gone. Mrs. Shireman.
I have a question. Why now?
For what?
The levy. Why the levy now?
So council's getting ahead of,
I get that, but why not a year ago?
well, we had another levy couple of years ago that went into effect.
And the people didn't like that levy.
Well, I don't think anybody likes these levies.
So why are we doing another levy when we're already taking everything from the people they have now? I just want to know why now? Why not next year?
Because it's next year be too late if we run out of money.
So what if the people run out of money that try to feed their families? Okay, that was just my question.
The money's gonna get tight everywhere over the next several years.
I think the
We're kind of
people
in an
are
economic
feeling it.
depression, a little bit.
And the people are feeling it.
Inflation's going, I know, Carolyn.
So
I
we
know.
keep taking from them.
Well, we still have to have fire trucks and police cars in the midst of all
And people still
that.
have to have food.
I know, Karen. We're gonna move on to the service director's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Westler Engineering will be attending the August 22nd committee meeting to give an update on the wastewater treatment plant. The administration and I would like to thank the Bucyrus L. Miller Park team for all their hard work this summer that made the swimming season a success. Currently, the last swim day at the L. Miller pool this season will be August 18th, but that may change depending on staffing levels. All non-emergency offices will be closed noon on Friday, August 16, 2024 for the Bratwurst Festival. Spectacular is being held on Saturday, October 19th, 3 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. at the Crawford County Fairgrounds. ASME is currently looking for donors for this event. Anyone willing to make a donation may write a check to the ASME. Attention, Spooktacular. Service line inventories in its final stages of service line inventories will be sent out within the next 2 weeks. The administration asks that you will fill out the service line inventory if you haven't already done so. The city may remain in compliance with the EPA. The due date for the final phase of the service line inventory is October 1st, 2024. Thank you.
Any questions for the service director?
This is probably for so the wastewater treatment plant is already in committee somewhere?
Yeah.
I assume, but we would not
We'll
like them
move
to come
on
here.
to, do you have a report, Mr. Gernert?
Briefly, so in conducting research for the sidewalk ordinance revision, it's come to my attention that Ohio Revised Code Section 729, well, that whole chapter outlines the procedures required to be taken by municipal corporations pertaining to repairs of sidewalks. The Ohio Revised Code requires the legislative authority of the municipal corporation to pass a resolution of necessity for the construction or repair of such sidewalks. Prior to passing such a resolution, the legislative authority of the municipal corporation shall cause plan specifications and an estimate of the cost of such construction or repair to be prepared, showing the location and dimensions of such sidewalks and specifications for the construction or repair thereof. So I know that there's some discussion about making that an administrative function. Legally, we can't do that. It's got to come through council. So you guys are on the hook. And I don't know why. I mean, it's oddity. I assume in 1962 when they passed that, that made sense to them. But I guess, and we can talk more in committees, but if, so the Gay Street one has been the one that the lady has come up and discussed. That might be something that we would begin with our engineers, McKeever and Associates, to begin putting together some plans on what it would take and how we would, you know, what would be the most economically advantageous way to do that. Possible.
Any questions for service or law director? I have a question. What's the status on the update of the buildings that were severely damaged by the tornado, like the old Swan and the Family Dollar?
Family Dollar, their engineer and architect were working with Richland County Board of whatever building, and I think when they submitted, it was pretty much a 6-month plan. The roof kind of caved in, which then collapsed portions of the wall, so there's some different structural stuff that they're going to have to do, but they intend on a full repair and reopening, and I think the time frame was about 6 months, so that would put us approximately November. The Swan building, they submitted a plan of action indicating what they intended to do. I need to follow up with them and indicate that although they intended to do a lot of things, they haven't done any of them, and put some pressure on them. But
Are we liable as a city if some bricks start falling out into the street now that we know there's an issue there? Or?
So not necessarily. It would be a complex litigation on foreseeability and what we actually have the ability to do. Private property rights versus public. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily, it would be a significant undertaking. And it's not like we've ignored the problem, right? As soon as it happened, we had Richland County over here. We've gone out and we've cited them indicating it's a dangerous building, a nuisance declared dangerous building. We have been in discussions with them a couple different times about, getting some of the bricks down, getting support up there to keep the walls flush or whatever the correct word is. So we've been approaching them. They're not working as quickly as possible, but it's an open project that we need to get back. I need to get back and get some, like the proverbial fire, I suppose.
Any other questions for the law? Oh, Mr. May.
Since we're talking about buildings, how about the fire department on the north end? Are we waiting on something?
I don't think so.
Are we ready to sell it? Ready to open bids on it?
So public lands would have to, I suppose, request legislation asking the administration to go out to bid, and then we would probably put a reserve on that. Not to reject any bid less than, I don't know, I think the low appraisal was 250, so we could go out to bid, reject any bids less than what our low appraisal was, or you could even reject any bids. You could average them, you could do all kinds of stuff, but that would come, public lands would basically ask to go out to bid on that property, and then we'd have to publish, I don't remember how many times, but, and then we could proceed.
Okay, so that's something we need to address during the committee meetings.
Yeah, I don't think.
This week, right?
I don't think there's any reason that we couldn't go forward with that.
Right.
I think the last two committee meetings, they didn't have public.
Yeah.
We didn't have a quorum.
We didn't.
That's the reason I think it was in bid.
Okay.
Also, could we get into the partnership too, see if they can do something with that building as far as getting somebody interested in it?
Well, if you
Put that on
guys
their
allow
radar.
the marijuana stuff, somebody could buy it and put it there.
I think there's administrative regulations that's too close to hospitals, churches, and schools to put anything
You got it.
marijuana related there.
Okay, anybody have any other
Parks.
final questions for the law director? We're going to move on to the auditor. Is it Mrs. something?
Mrs. Fine.
Miss Lewis?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. For the month of July, income tax revenue in the general fund was down 4% over July of 2023, or $9,424.43. But overall, in total income tax revenue, the city is up 7% over July of 2023. That includes the streets income tax levy, safety forces levy, and the general fund as well.
Is that your full report?
That's it.
Okay, I looked at the numbers that you just had on there, and I noticed that I did see the 4% drop, but then I did see where total was up, and it looked like mostly due to the safety forces.
Yes.
So I started comparing them to the year before, because last year we had, partially through the year, we were collecting more with the increased income tax on safety forces. And last year we took in an additional like 200,000 or 300,000 compared to the prior year. So in my mind, that was saying, okay, the next year will be double that because we only were doing it half the year. But it's actually even more. Like if you add what we've taken in so far on safety forces this year, and then if you look at what we took in last year and just filled it in, like what we took in the last half is going to be exactly the same this year, then it looked like we would be up like 900,000 over 2022.
I will have to take a look at that. I mean, I believe what you're saying, 100%.
Because the first thing running through my mind was, how's come 2023, we was only up 300,000, but in safety force levy, but 2024 we're up 900,000. Like, why has it jumped so much this year? And then I started to wonder, well, is it because maybe some people, it didn't fully catch up to them until they filed this year?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
So it actually is gonna be like a weird, like evening out for a
Mhm.
couple of years.
Right, right. That's why I stress, like, yes, we're gonna get that bump in the safety forces levy. So it's better to pay attention to how we're doing overall, like studying the boat and looking at specifically the general fund, because nothing has changed there. So
It actually
we're-
went down.
Yes, yeah, so we're having it, but not very much. And I believe the year before, we were up actually 19% over 2022. So even though we went down, it wasn't a huge dip.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're keeping an eye on it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Any questions for the auditor? Treasurer's report, don't have one. No police chief, no fire chief. Need a motion to accept city officers' reports.
So moved. I second the motion.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Visitors' input regarding report of standing/special committees and of city officers. Do we have any visitors' input? Seeing none, the administration has requested not to go into executive session. So we will skip that and go to unfinished business. Does anybody, oh, Mrs. DeShawn.
Just another update on our free swim sponsors for the Almiller Park Pool. We have for 7 days of sponsoring the John Q. Shunk Association. 1 day sponsors the Bucyrus IAFF 1120, Katona Realty. Then local businesses made up of Arrogant Goat, Bucyrus Brown Backers Club, Bucyrus Lions Club, K & Company Salon LLC, Be Well Aqua Massage LLC, and Red Rose Stable. Then we have the Kindness Crew, made up of Wayne McGinnis, Jeff and Tracy Price, Karen Hicks, Brenton and Brittany Potter, Teresa Cole, I'm hoping I pronounced that correct, Morgan Fry, and Lisa Alsept. Again, council says thank you to those sponsors.
Any other old business? I have some, I just wanted to make sure this was out there because I've had several people ask me since our last meeting. People, you know, last meeting we had an issue and somebody had to be removed. Somebody asked me, one of the council members had to be removed. Somebody asked me, Kurt, why didn't you remove somebody sooner? And I said, I can't. As I said during the meeting, I said, I can't remove a council member. And even though we have rules in our ordinances on removing people in this room that are disruptive, like on the other side of the railing, we have this Ohio Revised Code that specifically takes that even further, which would apply to removal of a member on the city council. And, you know, Mr. Gerner had brought this up in the ad hoc, and I just wanted to get that out there that I can't, there's a process to remove somebody from behind this railing, and it involves a 2/3 vote. Like, I can't just say, oh, one of y'all broke the rules, you're out. The council itself has to vote to remove one of its members, and it has to be a 2/3 vote. Is this correct, Mr. Gerner?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So was the process properly followed last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to get that out there because there was some questions and, you know, like you all can call for a motion at any time and remove somebody. If you get a second, and then it'll be a roll call vote. Like you could, one of y'all could say right now, I'm gonna make a motion to have so-and-so removed. If somebody seconds it, it'll immediately go to roll call vote. You guys make that call. Mrs. Shireman.
I would like to say that I am not upset with anybody sitting here at council. You voted the way that you had to vote. I was wrong. I'm getting better though, but you guys voted the way that you had to vote. I'm not upset with anybody. You did what you had to do. So with that being said, ta-da, I'm here.
Mr. Gurr, what's that ORC number that's about what I'm talking about?
731.45.
That's the...
731.45.
That's what makes the removal process per the ORC
Right.
more stringent than what our council rules are.
Right.
Mrs. DeShawn,
I was just going to elaborate on what you said, because according to our rules of procedure for Bucyrus City Council, under council participation, it states that any council member or city officer making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous or physically threatening to other members of council, and I believe I read this at the last meeting, the administration, or that becomes boisterous or physically threatening to other members of council, the administration, and members of the public in attendance, that council member shall be forthwith by the presiding officer, which would be you, Kurt, barred from further attendance, or barred from further audience before council or a committee, which at a committee, that would be like, say, me, if somebody was doing it during the health and safety. But as far as council goes, you as the presiding officer have that authority to bar that council person from further audience and can be removed from council chambers. So I'm thinking if we're talking about Ohio Revised Code, we're going to want to be looking at this section and making this.
You could honestly probably just
You're gonna
add a
have to
sentence at
tweak
the end,
it to
per
conform
Ohio
with-
Revised
Right,
Code
yeah.
3145.
you're going to have to tweak it to conform with the Ohio
Correct,
Revised Code.
correct. So, and we will talk about that at our next ad hoc meeting.
August 19th at 6 p.m.
That's right.
Other old business, I seen some misinformation floating around. Some of it was in Crawford County Now. Some of it was on Facebook, that somebody said that I was trying to eliminate the public participation at the last meeting. That is not true. I had a couple council members come to me and ask me if certain things could be done. I said, well, if you wanted to do this, this is the process it would have to go through. Suspending the rules, 2/3 vote, and then I reported it to somebody over email and they took it the wrong way. And then they tried to make it look like it was my idea, that I was doing it. And then they put a comment in the Crawford County Now that I was conspiring with somebody, a council member. No, I can't do it. Only you all can have a 2/3 vote and change your rules during the meeting. And then that's going to lead on to, I think, Mrs. Shireman, you have something you want to bring up under old business?
Yes. Some of you, I give it to you. This is a post off of Zion Hickman. And I would like to clarify this. It also goes with Wanda Sharrock. May I read it?
Yes, you may.
Okay. This was put on Zion Hickman at July 29th at 5:07 p.m. When the Bratwurst financial fiasco was happening at City Hall for a month and a half, if not longer, I recall a certain councilwoman not VD, quote unquote, and I'm taking that as Vicky DeShawn, stating, quote, "The council's intent is to gain the financials. We're not trying to end the festival," unquote. Fast forward to today, and there are two people, this councilwoman included, who are running two separate petitions. One, to force the festival to show the public their financials, which a petition can't force non-for-profit to do, quote unquote, and an apparent petition to end the festival altogether. I thought we had all moved past this since we all finally got it off our chests, but I guess not. So I will reiterate what I said about the situation months ago. I will not let this festival end if it ever came to that. The Bratwurst Festival does more good for the city than most people care to see. It does so much more on a larger scale than you can imagine. Ending the festival or even crippling it is not the way to go. It's a great way to slowly suffocate our already struggling city. So when you receive these phone calls, answer your door, or see one of these petitions online, I would advise you simply ignore them. It is not worth your time, trust me. Zion M. Hickman, 3rd Ward Representative, Bucyrus, Ohio. So can I have one or two questions. Can I ask Zion?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. First, who in the first paragraph you say, "I recall a certain councilwoman." Who are you referring to?
I believe that was a quote from you.
So you're saying that councilwoman is me?
You made the quote, yes.
Okay. Second, you fast forward and then you go on, and then you say, fast forward to today, and there are two people, this councilwoman included. So if I'm included, who is the other person? Who's the other council member?
I don't have to give that information.
But you publicly posted this, and you're referring to another council person.
Can we move on? This is going nowhere.
Mr. Hickman, I have never seen any petition that any council member is circulating to end the Bratwurst Festival or to see their financials. So this appears to be misinformation that's being put out.
I have proof that the Facebook one was put out.
Do you have proof of the petition that I'm supposedly
Well,
have done?
okay, here's how we're gonna handle this. We're gonna leave this in old business and table it, and I'm gonna let Mr. Hickman, between now and the next meeting, send the proof to me that he's referring to. Because the last thing we...
The petition?
It's not required to do that. I'm not.
Excuse me, Mr. Wirebaugh, you're not... Mr. Wirebaugh, you're being warned once.
It's not required to do that.
Mr. Wirebaugh, you are not to be making any noise.
I'm out of here. I will listen to this.
You should know the rules, Mr. Wirebaugh. You should know the
You do
rules.
not have to answer these.
Mr. Wirebaugh, this is your second
If you're
warning.
a lawyer, you don't have to answer to them.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. Does anybody have any new business?
I do.
Mrs. DeShawn.
I have a referral that I would like to make, but before I make the referral, I would like to give an explanation that hopefully will explain why I'm making the referral. At the July 25th, 24 Finance Committee meeting, discussion was held on the necessity that the 3.25 mil property tax levy for fire and police equipment be passed. It was suggested by citizen Greg White and Councilmember Chris Moritz that in order to have a strong turnout by out-of-town workers, which would hopefully result in a passage of the levy, that legislation be prepared stating if the levy passes, that this council and future councils would not go after the 2% out-of-town worker tax credit for the 5-year period of the levy. Law Director Gurnett also stated that council could pass a statement or issue a proclamation stating as such. It was also stated, however, that one council cannot dictate what another council can and cannot do. After listening to the audio recording of the finance meeting and the back and forth conversations between committee members and citizen Clarissa Slater, I am understanding now that Mrs. Slater was questioning, since we are looking to protect the 2% out-of-town worker tax credit, if a new referral needed to be done, since the open project list currently states revocation of out-of-town worker tax credit. At the meeting, I stated to Mrs. Slater that I thought we were fine with the current open project list. However, after doing some research, I do not believe such is the case. So I hereby move that the 2% out-of-town worker tax credit be referred to the Finance Committee. And I don't want anything said like protecting it or revoking it. Just the subject matter is the 2% out-of-town worker tax credit. Then that allows us to talk about anything on it.
Is there a second? Mrs. DeShawn made the motion, Mr. Meyer seconded to refer that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any other new business? Seeing none, we have a council member who is absent. And did we receive any notification as to why she was absent?
She did not provide anything, but she gave me ample notice.
She did not provide any reason why.
Nope.
So,
But she provided over 24 hours notice. I will give her that.
do we have anything in the rules to say something about 24-hour notice?
No, but it was courteous of her to do so.
So,
Do we have anything in the rules, though, that say that you have to state why you're not coming?
No.
I didn't think so.
I will entertain if somebody wants to make a motion to excuse Ms. Sharrock. We have Mr. Myers made the motion. Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we only had one opposed, so we do have a quorum to excuse her, so she is excused. And then referrals, what do we have?
We have the 2025 OPWC grant to service and finance, food trucks to health and safety and plating, and the 2% out-of-town worker tax credit to finance.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Myers made the motion to adjourn. Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor? All opposed?
Sorry.
We are adjourned at 8:23 p.m.